Emily, I want to play a little clip. This is of Donald Trump last night trying to get his vote out and making a typical Trump remark.
You can't sit home. If you're sick as a dog, you say, darling, I gotta make it. Even if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it.
Now, look, we're all laughing, right? And that's the reaction. I watched my old CNN colleagues trying to be serious about this, and they couldn't help themselves but laughing. This, Emily, is his trump card, literally, is that he is funnier than the other candidates. And as we've seen with Boris Johnson in the UK, who became Prime Minister, if you've got a sense of humour and you don't talk or behave like other politicians, you can go a long way and you can make a comeback like Trump.
Yeah, I mean, being 22 years old and Gen Z's epitome, I grew up in a Trump election. 2016 was the first election I can recall Trump won that. 2020, Trump participated, lost. But being Gen Z, I grew up watching Trump. And to me, it was always just, yes, he says it as he pleases and he doesn't really think twice before speaking, which is a blessing and a curse. You get the transparency, but you also sometimes need a filter, especially on a global stage. And I think it comes down to a balance, the famous quote, to be loved or to be feared. Now, internationally, you have to be feared, otherwise you risk being taken advantage of and being a vulnerable country, which America is very vulnerable right now. But at the same time, you risk Trump winning might, even prompt a civil war within America, which nobody benefits from, of course.
Louise, the other great advantage Trump has, and why we may be seeing this extraordinary comeback, is that Biden looks so weak. Record low approval ratings again this week, and they're already terrible. A lot of Democrats, 2/3 of them, don't think he should run again. But he is, and if he does, you've got to think Trump has a great chance.
I don't think Trump has a great chance. Honestly, I don't think polls this far out for the general election mean very much. We've seen it over and over again. That said, Joe Biden should not make Hillary Clinton's mistake and start being complacent. In 2020, Joe Biden won because he wasn't Trump. Time for a change is the most effective slogan in politics all the time, forever. Now, it's time for a change from Biden. So he's got to be careful, he's got to be cautious. The Democrats, the White House, will be looking at the results of this caucus with great interest, very great interest. It's the race for second place. Only Nikki Haley has really managed expectations. She said that New Hampshire's her big state. If she manages to outperform, she could get a bit of momentum just in case the Supreme Court throws a monkey wrench into Donald Trump's plans.
All right, Frank Luntz, no one knows about polling better than you. What are the possible scenarios here? Could we see one, maybe two candidates dropping out by the time Iowa's come out in the wash?
Absolutely. Ron DeSantis cannot justify continuing after spending more than $100 million, and most of that here in Iowa. If he comes in third, I can't imagine him going beyond tomorrow. And then you also have to look at Vivek Ramaswamy, who's self-funding his campaign. Does he get over 10% of the vote, which indicates that there's still some rationale for his campaign? And then you have Asa Hutchinson, who most Brits will never heard of because most Americans have never heard of him. He's a former governor, successful governor at that. And he's getting 0.7% of the vote. Once again, I agree with your colleague that you don't trust the polling this early in the campaign, but make no mistake, it's going to be more negative than it's ever been. It's going to be more personal, more vicious, and more Americans are going to say to hell with American politics and American elections as the months continue.
OK, prediction time. What's going to happen here, Emily?
I politely disagree with you because I don't think Biden's given Americans enough of an incentive to vote for him again.
No, I don't.
If Biden wins, it's purely out of...
I think if it's Biden, Trump wins.
Me too. I think Trump's...
And I wouldn't have said that a year ago, but you've got to say, the guy's resilience. I always say with Trump, he has the thinnest skin of any human being I've met in my life. He reacts to everything, right? But he has the thickest. He can soak up stuff that would crush any other politician. And Louise, you've been a politician. If you've got that thick skin like Trump and you can swat away all the buzzards and the flies, you've got a great chance.
People always like a political candidate who just speaks his mind and doesn't give a damn. I know you're not a big fan of Boris Johnson, but he had that quality. Trump has that quality. He was obviously joking when he said, go out and die for me to vote. The fact is, I think that Biden will beat Trump quite handily, but I think Trump is the only candidate that Biden could beat.
Let's go quickly back to Frank before he literally freezes to death in front of us. Frank, if it's Biden-Trump, can you see a way Biden wins?
Well, I want to separate
20
Donald Trump
seconds.
from Boris Johnson. Boris has written more books than Donald Trump has read. I believe that the election is way too close to call, that either candidate can win. If you force me to bet on it now, I would bet that Donald Trump would come out slightly ahead because his voters are passionate.
Yeah, they are. Frank Luntz, great to see you, and thank you for braving the elements. Thank you to Louise and to Emily. Lovely to see you both again.